Disclaimer: some of the views, beliefs, and ideas that I hold in this video I do not anymore. If you want my current beliefs, views, and ideas, which I do hold right now, check out my other socials in the description down below.
Yeah, bullying or harassing or something because we were mocking the death of something.
Of a 16, if I'm correct, 16-year-old girl. I mean, yeah, she seemed crazy. The girl was going to stab another lady with a knife. The police officer shot her, I think, 5 times, and it could have been de-escalated a better way. I can see the argument of him just shooting her, but again, I feel like the police officer could have de-escalated a little bit more. You know, if they'll be able to really talk about that more, because it's really important of how policemen do their job. They should be able to do their job without a fear of being canceled, while also not just shooting and asking questions later.
That was, we were praising an officer for saving a life.
You were
okay, and
you
can't
want
praise
a
an
police
officer
state.
for
You went too far
within,
with
I think,
that
11
one.
seconds. Hey, drop the knife. Everybody down. Shoot mid-stab so the other girl is saved. Then you can't praise any officer.
That's an incredible.
Yeah, I mean, if you say it like that, then yeah. But if you see the video and if you understand the arguments on both sides of what was going on, it was kind of like that at face value, pretty much. But again, I think it could have been handled a little bit more better. One person said if a police officer cannot de-escalate 2 younger people doing something like that, they shouldn't be a police officer. Which I might not agree with, but like, come on, you're a police officer. I think you can handle situations like these without shooting the person 20,000 times. Like, that was the main issue with that one at the end of the day. Like, I mean, listen, it was at mid-stab, so again, I mean, I don't necessarily blame the police officer for doing it, but I think our human brains have enough time in our movement, especially as a police officer, should have the movement, enough time of the movement to pretty much shoot on the leg, or just not like on the head 5 times, which I don't think the police officer did, but like pretty much you could have done it in a faster and more de-escalated, like, situational, like, way, because these pretty much were 2 young. I think you can handle the situation more than just, like, I think you can do more than just that. I think that was the main argument with that incident.
Incredible shot too, considering the scene and the bystanders, and and you had LeBron James putting that guy's face on the internet demanding consequences. Right. That's okay.
And I don't believe in playing defense. I don't believe in playing it's a tragedy all around and we need to find out how we can. No. Look, it
is kind of a tragedy, because I mean, I didn't know why the young lady was doing that. I mean, I'm not saying, oh, let's see what the person was thinking of before they did it, and just think of that and not about the victim. No, I'm just saying, like, this didn't happen overnight. Something happened to where this person wanted to stab another person. Like, that's not normal. We should know how to, one, de-escalate it without necessarily killing anybody, just for the benefit of, I guess, both parties in a sensible way. And 2, it would help us to understand why this person was going to stab another human being. Like, I think that's important to know. I think that's important to know. Anyways,
praise heroes as well. And when someone saves a life, or potentially saves a life,
true, we should thank them for that. They should be celebrated. But I mean, like, this isn't about that though. It's about a broader
right, who has to
problem.
React that quickly. I'm not going to, well, I don't agree with what the officer did. No, not only do I agree with what the officer did, I said not only is it a justified shooting, I think it was a necessary shooting from the officer.
Remember, guys, necessary. I mean, see, let's sink in. Let's sink in. The person who was shot was, if I'm correct, 16-year-old lady. Just so happened to pull a knife on somebody and try to stab them, and we won't really get the reason why, because she's dead. Anyways,
doing his job as an officer. So that was what the strike was based on. That was a second strike. And
I mean, you were saying a lot of sexist trash and a lot of things. I mean, Crowder is very sexist. That's just a fact. He is very sexist. So, I mean, I wasn't surprised there. I mean, like, seriously, like, does not care about the well-being of the person who got shot. Like, again, like, if this was, say, a 30-year-old woman and she had maybe a track record of stabbing people, then yeah, like, you know, but like, like, it was a 16-year-old girl, if I'm correct, if I remember. Pretty much, she was young. We didn't know why she was trying to stab somebody, and we most likely will never will, because the person who was trying to do it is dead. So, good job for, I mean, yeah, good job for saving lives. We don't know what would have happened if she would have actually stabbed that person. We would have a maybe even worse tragedy, but like, still, we could have known why. You might not know why now. Again, it's the is the overbroadening issue in the police force. Not just that incident, but just the broader problem, or the growing problem in the police force. Same thing with Chauvin. Let's be real. The Chauvin trial wasn't just about Chauvin. It was about the police force. It was about race in a lot of cases. So, yeah.
And we have reason to believe that they're looking retroactively for potentially other strikes on the channel, because these aren't really violations of policies. They're
and he did call gay people degenerates. He was, I mean, quote, if I'm correct, YouTube lets, and again, excuse language, all that. I'm just quoting what Crowder pretty much said. This might be paraphrasing it, but if I'm correct, YouTube allows degenerate gay porn. If I'm correct, that's what he said, which it really doesn't. And I'm not gonna really get into.
Depending on who interprets them, we've had conversations with you where we've tried to understand the rule book. So I would hate to correct you, but you sort of classified it as butting heads. I don't see us as butting heads. I see us as saying, okay, well, look.
You are butting heads. That's what you do. That's part of your motto. You butt heads. That's what you like to do.
Know what the rules are, and your platform, your rules, fine. If you're, especially if you're a publisher,
right?
Especially if you're going to have this editorial control and say people are not allowed to voice these opinions on COVID. People are not allowed to voice these opinions. For example, Amy Klobuchar and Elizabeth Warren on election.
People are not allowed to do conspiracy theories. I mean, like
on election issues. If you want to say those opinions are not welcome, well, fine, but then let us know beforehand, not retroactively. And it's technical.
I mean, I thought YouTube kind of did. I thought
maybe
they did.
Not a violation. So I think when people add those up, because sometimes people will try and misconstrue this as, well, Stephen says some offensive stuff.
It's not just offensive. It's
pseudo violations were. These were the ones. It was the voter fraud, going to addresses with a copy of that day's paper, fact-checking it, and doubling down and fact-checking it, statistics from the CDC, and praising the officer who saved the young girl's life who was mid-step. Those were the violations.
And in each one of those...
Yes, those are the violations. That's kind of being propagandist there. Like, though that, come on. The violations was, what do you say? He was pretty much doing something bad with COVID, which sadly most conservatives do. And praising the officer for killing a 16-year-old girl. Yeah, I think that's actually more accurate if you look at the video and actually, like, other people who are more critiqued in this field of really looking at the narrative of a content creator being honest, it was more so like the CDC is wrong. COVID is not really a threat. It is a threat, but not a threat. And praising a police officer for shooting a 16-year-old girl. I mean, that's a little bit actually more accurate, if I'm correct. Like, I think that is actually more accurate here. But,
Scenarios, the problem is, when we talk about the coof, as I call it on my channel, because I still occasionally get that green check mark on my videos. Yeah, it's nice actually.
Must be nice.
Yeah. You are not allowed to, in my opinion, it feels like you're not allowed to present anything other than the world is ending and everyone should be living in. That to me is if you're even on that line. For example, I uploaded a video talking about the Johnson & Johnson recall.
Wait, hold up. Just going back.
Then the world is ending and everyone should be living in fear. That to me.
But that's not what we're doing. I mean, some are doing it, but I mean, that's more on your side, really living in fear. The left is trying to censor all of us. YouTube's on it too. I mean, if you really look at it, I mean, yeah, the left does have some fears, but like, I think the right, it's a lot more fear. A lot more fear on the right. Especially with propagandists, propagandize, like Michael Knowles and Stephen Crowder, and maybe some people, and other people. Really, I think it's more so of facts and caution, logic and science and change and progress. Again, things that conservatives really don't like to hear sometimes, if not at all.
If you're even on that line, for example, I uploaded a video talking about the Johnson & Johnson recall. I received an immediate channel strike, and within 10 seconds, they rejected my appeal, even though I said, hey, here's a New York Times article. I'm just stating a scientific fact, and they rejected my appeal.
Well, again, it's how you did, and if you tried to fit a narrative that wasn't actually what the data or the statistic was actually saying. If Washington Post was saying blah, 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 and you were like, or pretty much you propagandized it in a way that you wanted to look like, you could have been flagged for that. And I think YouTube should maybe make some. Well, no, that's suggestive. That's subjective. That's actually subjective. Like that's hard to do. I don't think you should make. I don't think you should. YouTube shouldn't make a rule like if you try to propagandize something or abuse the data that you're in, you should get flagged, because that's going to be hard, because you have to present the data, because the data is not really going to say it like you want it to say or how you want to say it. Like, say, according to the data, Sega has 4 million games. I would say Sega has a lot of games, according to this. The data didn't say it has a lot of games. It said it had, what I say, 4 million games. But again, I was emphasizing that this is a lot. You can do that, but if you're like the massive Japanese corporation with these weird games called from Sega, over 4 million of them, we must stop this for America. That's propaganda, and that's not actually saying what the data is saying, really. I mean, I am saying it, but I'm saying it within a different narrative. The narrative for that one, the narrative for data is to present numbers based on the statistic, pretty much. And it's up to us to, I guess, say it in plain English, this is what it's saying, based on my example or say demonstration. And I don't know if that person did that with Johnson & Johnson or not. He might have. He might have just said, well, this seems to be blah, 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 according to Washington Post. But if he's like, oh my gosh, the vaccine might not work, according to blah, 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 Johnson & Johnson, we must be careful about the vaccine. It could be dangerous. Like, if he did like that, then maybe he should be, I don't know if he should be flagged, but, again, it just depends how far you do it in your narrative and how you present the data,
Only because I have
or how you express it.
this channel, which is much larger, could I raise a stink about it and then they remove the strike. But to me, I don't feel good about that. I feel like, man, there's probably thousands of other videos that are getting struck down with no recourse.
And that's the key point here. And I appreciate you bring that up, because look, you're more established than some people, and I feel very fortunate.
Of course,
I've worked
because
really
he brought
hard to be
you
as
here.
established as I am.
Let's be real.
You know, we have a lot of supporters at Mug Club, and do I think that could we decide? Sure. Could we survive? Sure. You know, you lose your ability to reach out and to inspire people, and of course, YouTube has always it's been home since really, I mean, 2006, and regularly with political videos since 2009. So when people talk about, you know, dark money or right-wing actors, like, there were no conservatives in 2009.
Yeah,
I mean, look,
What?
I was a kid with a blue bed
What does
sheet.
that
Okay?
mean?
I did it in my den with a blue bed sheet, and I was doing
What is
kind of what Trevor Noah does
conservative?
now, which is, you know, talk to the camera. He's doing YouTube circa 2009
Yeah.
with general political rants. The first one I ever did that went viral was Crazy Pete's Abortion Barn, where I read from Planned Parenthood's website. And I said, it sounds like a used car salesman. And so I dressed up this character, Crazy Pete, the Southern used car salesman in a bolo tie, talking about discount abortions at affordable prices. And that kind of went viral. And people, the joke was, I'm reading from the Planned Parenthood website.
Right. Yeah.
I've been doing this
But
for,
you most likely propagandized it in a way that wasn't actually what Planned Parenthood was saying. That's what I'm guessing. Being honest, I'm guessing that's most likely probably what happened. I mean,
time.
let's be
And
real
it's
here.
grown, and now, you know, as a small business owner, I employ, you know, at any given time between 12 and 15 people, depending what we're doing as far as research or interns. And they rely on this. They rely on this too. But what I'm concerned about is, I don't know if there's an opportunity for someone like, you know, in 2009, the people like us who built this platform, who were not only welcomed,
People like
but
us.
were encouraged, right? They encouraged us to join the partner program. They encouraged us to advertise on YouTube. They encouraged us to take part and engage in the communities and build up the world's biggest multimedia site. And now they're slamming the door behind them. So
Slamming the
really,
door.
this lawsuit is not just about myself. It is about hopefully making sure
It's about the people who can say conspiratorial stuff and pretty much blanket it with, I'm just asking questions. Like, I mean, come on, let's be real. That is what Crowder's doing. Because Crowder does do conspiracy theories, and he blankets them by, oh, I'm just asking questions, guys. I'm trying to get the facts on both sides here. Alright. Okay.
everyone going forward can understand what the rule book is. And if, look, saying that you cannot say we shouldn't shut down the entire economy due to COVID, saying that you are not allowed to say, for
We shouldn't say... No, just continue.
younger children are actually more at risk of the flu than COVID, saying that you cannot praise an officer who stopped a stabbing with.
So pretty much you can't say that we should endanger lives, because if we opened the country in a way that it was back then, it would have endangered a lot of lives. What was the other one? Pretty much undermining how COVID is not really doing anything to children, because you were saying that, well, the flu does more to children than COVID-19. Well, let's think about this. History and time here. The flu's been here more than COVID-19, or it's been discovered, because illnesses don't really get created. Most of them, if I'm correct, are discovered based on environments that create the illness, like the flu. Most of the time, people get the flu or the cold at winter time because of our immune system and how the cold is, and how the immune system reacts to the cold. So, like, but I think it's more than that, obviously, than just time and history. But if I'm correct, I mean, I think that would make sense based off what I know. I'm not an expert of illnesses, nor is Crowder. So, and the other one, pretty much praising a police officer for shooting a 16-year-old girl. I mean, that is kind of just the blatant, I mean, That's the blatant thing that you're doing. I mean, of course, there's more context, and we should be given more context, but, like, I mean, you're not just celebrating a hero from a deadly stabbing, you're celebrating a hero because they shot somebody who was going to stab somebody, but they were like 16. As in, they were young. As in, maybe they had something wrong with them. As in, maybe we shouldn't have, maybe just killed the person and then asked the question, why did you do that? Well, they can't say because you killed them. I mean, again, case by case. Case by case. I'm just saying.
Fractions of a second ago is
true. That was a
to
fraction of a
consider those
second.
violations.
I'll give you that.
God forbid,
but still,
our channel were to be removed under that pretext. That is to say that half of this country's point of view is not welcome on this platform.
It isn't, because it maybe half of the country are wrong about a lot of things. Half of the country voted for Trump. So I'm not surprised that half of the country might be canceled.
I need to say it. I'm pro-business, I'm anti-fraud.
Yeah, and I think that's a very valid point, because none of these things were...
Sure.
You can't lay out every possible scenario in terms of service, and I get that they're supposed to be broad.
Sure.
But then I have a problem when they're, in my opinion, purposely broad, so that, you know, there's such a massive gray area that you can deploy publisher tactics by suppression, removal, strikes. This is what I talk about with the Section 230 thing. It's one of the biggest gripes I had about Trump, is that I don't know if he totally understood Section 230, but, you know, when
publishers didn't do enough.
Yeah, and he didn't do enough, and he...
Of course he didn't
when you
do
have
enough.
Platforms,
he wasn't alt-right enough. He wasn't far-right enough.
Enforcement of rules. These are things that a publisher would do, and platforms should not be protected by Section 230 in those cases.
Well, you know what? Something that's important with that too, Jeremy. I don't know why I almost said Phil. I know your name's not Phil. I was then like, I think it was because I was listening to Phil Collins earlier. Yeah. It's also being enforced differently. The interpretation of these rules and guidelines right now under Joe Biden administration, because kind of like people have been talking about Israel, you know, and Palestine, wherever people line up, I think it's very clear that there's a different posturing and there's a different alignment in this conflict. There's very different alignment with this administration when you're looking at almost the entire DNC platform, where they're saying break up big tech and we need more algorithmic censorship.
I mean, yeah, pretty much. They maybe want more censorship by particular people, and they're trying to maybe, you know. But yeah, but then you have the other side who had almost a commission of protecting Anglo-Saxon civilization. So I mean, you got that side. I mean, canceling or Anglo-Saxon civilization, which anybody who knows what that means knows that might be worse than canceling. Switching you guys to a different location that's new. There will not be a part 3. I think you already knows that since a final part, but I just want to tell you why, because one, it's been a very long time since I've done that video, and since that whole event with Crowder and YouTube just happened, so it's like, yeah, I'm not gonna dig up old stuff anymore. I'm gonna do that later on, basically as the YouTube historian, basically, into the other videos. The last of the archive videos, we're getting there, of the archive videos ending will be something totally different from Crowder versus you. Switching you guys to a different location right about now again. Hey, real quick, if you want to dedicate your life to Christ, aka get saved, or if you're a backslider and want to rededicate your life to Christ, or if you want the baptism of the Holy Spirit with the evidence of speaking with tongues, those prayers are in the description.